Who surprised you the most this week? Me and Big Time Sean, we're going to look at who's the fantasy studs and duds of the week, as well as waiver wire targets you might want to look at if you got some injuries on your team. Stay tuned. Who's been hit with the injury bug this season? I know I have. Hopefully you've been able to pick up some waiver wire pickups and targets that we've identified in the show, and hopefully you've had some success this year. I know I've had some trouble this year with injuries, and this week has been a rough one. I believe in one of my leagues, I lost by less than half a point. So it's been a tough one. Hopefully you were able to snag up some of those studs that came out of week 3. And we're going to give you some more waiver wire pickups to identify later on in the show. Of course, I'm Jay. I'm your host here with Vegas Guyz Locker Room. Hopefully we can get joined with Big Time Sean later. Having a little bit of difficulties on his end. Hopefully we can get him connected and he can go over his studs and duds of the week and identify some waiver wire pickups. This week was an interesting week in fantasy. So many injuries out there. Looking to see where that target share and attempts and snap counts are going to go. Some of the studs that we had this week were non-surprising. Some of them came out of nowhere, and some of them we were expecting sooner rather than now. I'll go over my duds of the week. Now, I'm going to go over 3 of them. If I can get connected with Big Time Sean, hopefully he can come in and give you his 3. I've got his list in case we can't. So we'll move on with the show, and hopefully he can join us in a little bit. My number 1 dud of the week, of course, was Josh Jacobs. After getting such a huge share in week 2, week 3 saw his snap percentage go down. Is that back injury going to be lingering, and is it more severe than they're putting on? Because he played only 52% of the snaps with only 14 rushing attempts at 43 yards, no touchdowns, and did not get involved in the passing game. He was a complete dud this week where I thought he was going to flourish, and I thought the offense was going to be on his back. It wasn't the case. Only 52% of snaps. I'd be concerned going forward. I know I'm a Josh Jacobs owner in one league, and I am concerned. You might want to look elsewhere. Hopefully he gets you a nice floor, but you might want to look for some big bang for your buck and some high-end players that have high ceilings. Next one is Mike Evans. Second week with less than 10 points. Only had 3 targets with 2 receptions and a small percentage of yards, 17. What's the deal going on? Baker Mayfield on through the first 2 weeks, everybody was in love with Baker. His first 2 weeks I knew were going to be easy. I thought this week would be mediocre, but man, it was not great. So Mike Evans, who went higher in drafts than he did last year, kind of looking at that low-end wide receiver that you were probably expecting last year's draft, you've gotten that in the last couple of weeks. My next fantasy duds, the whole Miami offense. Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, all held under 10 points this week. The only Miami player you want on your fantasy team is the defense, because those guys were lighting up. But unfortunately, the offense is just not clicking now that Tua's out. Skylar Thompson, of course, going down. Who's going to be the starter next week? I don't know. I'm starting to hit the panic button on a lot of Tyreek Hill owners and Jalen Waddle guys. I've got him in a lot of leagues. I've also got Devon Achane in a lot of leagues. I'm a little concerned. I might be looking to see if anybody's still high-end on him and maybe making a trade. I don't think you're going to get your value for him, though. So hopefully you can sit him on the bench, maybe play him in starts that you might get a chance at some breakouts. But going forward, it's going to be a rough go if you own any of these guys in your fantasy teams. Of course, my studs for the week, not really big surprises. Just kind of took him a while to get there. First one is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, literally his average per target went up double than the average of the previous first 2 weeks. So it looks like that offense is starting to get clicking. Yes, they are 0-3. And hopefully with the reinsertion of T. Higgins, maybe Jamar Chase can get his game going. He had a big Monday night and, of course, another Cincinnati loss. But he had 2 touchdowns this week, so really put him as fantasy relevant this week. And looking at the guy you wanted to draft in the first round. Next, Deontay Johnson. I know a lot of people were huge on him going into the season, and you just weren't getting that with Bryce Young. Bryce Young now is on the bench, and the red rifle is reemerging. He comes in, he gets 14 targets, 8 receptions for 122 yards, and 1 tutty. And man, he looks like the guy you were drafting late in rounds to be that surprise pick. Can Andy Dalton sustain this? I'm not sure. It's going to be. Listen, he was a backup for a reason, but it looks like this offense fits him well. Next, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones came out there and he is balling. This whole Minnesota team and everybody being worried that they didn't have a quarterback has came out and they have been huge. He has 19 attempts for 100 yards, first time breaking 100 yards this season, and he also had 6 targets for 5 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown in the receiving game. Huge game from Aaron Jones. Hopefully he can keep this going. I know he's susceptible to injuries, and every year it seems like he goes down with some kind of a soft tissue injury. I know people are reluctant, but you got a great week out of Aaron Jones, and hopefully he can keep this going, especially if Sam Darnold's okay. I know he dodged a major injury with his knee, and hopefully he can fully practice this week, and you can see another big week out of Aaron Jones. Well, it looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get Big Time Shaun on the show this week, so it'll be a quicker show, just give you the breakdowns, and hopefully we can catch up with him next week on the show of touchdowns and trash talk. But I've got his list of names of who he thought were duds. His first one, of course, Mark Andrews. I got to say, if you drafted Mark Andrews in most leagues, it's time to panic. His snap percentage was only 33% of snaps, and he only had 1 target this week. I am very concerned at Mark Andrews' usage this year, and I don't think he's going to be that high-end tight end you're going to get. I'm holding out hope, and hopefully maybe they're just letting him get acclimated and get his legs underneath him, but to see his snap percentage drop each week is very concerning to me. I might be out on Mark Andrews, maybe keeping your on the bench. You're not going to get anything from him in a trade, especially in Dynasty right now. You may just have to hold on to him, and hopefully they get this right going forward. Ramondre Stevenson is next. Yes, he had a really bad week. I thought he was going to have a great week playing that Jets defense. They give up a ton to the running backs, but he only has 6 attempts for 23 yards and played in only 46% of snaps. I know he kind of messed up his finger there in a face mask penalty where he actually had a huge run. Didn't get involved in the passing game is my concern, so how big is that hand injury going to be going forward? Can we see Gibson get more looks in the offense and this be a 50-50 split? If so, it's really going to hurt if you invested high on Ramondre Stevenson. This offense does not look like it's getting any better, and it's very, very vanilla. His third, the entire Jags offense. I think the problems lie with Trevor Lawrence. Everyone seemed to be fantasy relevant with the target shares, the attempts, but the offense just is stale. Trevor Lawrence is really struggling. I think this is it. I think this is the year he really has to prove himself. I know he got the big contract, but of course the way they structure these now, I'm sure they can be able to get out of this in a couple years. I think he really has something to prove. Hopefully they get this together because I know I'm a big Brian Thomas owner. I was really hoping that Trevor Lawrence would have a breakout year, especially getting that new contract. And even Travis Etienne, not looking all that great. I know I've got him in a few leagues, and he's really been a disappointment, not being able to get into the end zone, and the passing game has really struggled. Christian Kirk, another one. Had good volume, gets great targets last night, really emerged as the number 1 guy there on Monday Night Football, but still not a fantastic game, not being able to find the end zone. Sean's studs of the week, James Cook. He loves James Cook. I know he only got 11 attempts, 39 yards, but he did get a touchdown. He was involved in the passing game with 5 targets, 4 receptions. Should have had a passing touchdown reception. Just gets through his hands. He had 48 yards in the air. Good week for James Cook. I really liked him. If you were following me, I really liked him at the beginning of the season. I figured he was going to be my number 5 back on the year, and hopefully he can get more volume. Hopefully the passing game picks up for him, and he can get in the end zone a little bit more than he has in the past. His number 2 guy, Juwan Jennings in the Niners. He was this week's darling pickup when everybody knew that Deebo Samuel was going to be out for multiple weeks. He gets 12 targets, 11 receptions for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. So why'd they pay Brandon Ayuk? Man hasn't done anything all year. But I digress. Juwan Jennings had a great week. I think you continue to see it go up, and I think he's going to be the go-to guy in this offense, especially now Kittle's out, Debo's out. Brandon Ayuk does not look the same, missing training camp. This is why a lot of pros say you have to be in training camp. Remember, Jamar Chase was the same way. Both these guys did not participate in training camp, and it's showing here in the regular season. Justin Jefferson, still the man there in Minnesota. All he needs is a guy to throw him the ball. Apparently, I can go out there and make this guy look good because he makes everyone look good. Season high in targets and snap percentage. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 81 yards, 1 tutty. He did slow down there in the second half when Sam Darnold kind of got hurt. He only missed 1 snap, but it did slow down, and they were in control of that game most of the time anyway. So Jefferson, big week for him. Those are Shaun's studs for the week. Now, I was really hoping to have big time Shaun on for the show because I wanted to talk 49ers and the Raiders with him. Since I am a Niners fan and he is a Raiders fan, I wanted to get on kind of our perceptions on what these teams needed to do. But instead, I'm going to ask you guys, what did the Las Vegas Raiders need to do to turn around their season? Is it making a trade for a different running back, offensive line pickup, moving on from Zamir White, maybe trading Devontae Adams for some key pieces? What changes do you believe that the the Las Vegas Raiders need to make? San Francisco, is it time to maybe panic a little bit? I wouldn't say it's too much panic going on. You got Seattle there. I don't think Seattle is going to sustain being 3-0. I'm a little concerned with the injuries. CMC, that offense is built to revolve around him. You don't have Jordan Mason's not a receiving running back, so those plays that you kind of have set up that opens up those receivers are not in place. It might be a little bit of panic, but I think they're going to be all right. It's only week 3. I think once they get everybody healthy, this defense gets rolling. Remember, Javarius Ward also had I believe, a hamstring issue. He did not look like himself as well in the game. I think you just got to give this one time. I don't think it's time to really hit the big panic button, but I'm getting a little worried. I would say worried would be more than panic. So, guys, comment below, what were your biggest surprises of week 3? I know there was quite a few. I mean, there's quite a few guys that did not look great. Some look like all-stars. What were your biggest surprises in week 3? Comment down below. We'd love to hear from you and start the discussion and see what you guys think. All right, guys, time for this week's waiver wire targets. I'll start with BigXShaun's choices. If you haven't picked up on Jauan Jennings, now is the time to really hop on him. He's only rostered in 44% of leagues, and it should be a must-play every week with Deebo Samuel being out for multiple weeks, and it's unknown how long George Kittle could possibly be out. CMC, of course, still not back. That could be a lingering thing. I know I've heard rumors that it could possibly be a year-long injury. Where was this in the preseason, all of us that picked CMC? Next, Deontay Johnson. He's rostered in 74% of leagues because people did believe in him. Hopefully you held on to him and didn't dump him, because now it looks like the emergence of Deontay Johnson could be happening, especially with Andy Dalton at QB. Speaking of Andy Dalton, he is our next pickup with Shaun's list. He is only rostered in 7% of leagues. If you're playing in a 2 QB league, or, listen, you just need some spot starts, Andy Dalton could be a good pickup. Remember, people play well in Canellis' offense, and it looks like Andy Dalton fits right in. The man was hungry to play. I mean, like starving to play. He could be a good pickup, especially if you're streaming the quarterback position here going forward. You look for matchups. Andy Dalton seems to play well in Canellis' offense, and he looks like he doesn't want to lose the job as he's getting older, and the Red Rifle wants one more run as a quarterback in the NFL. All right, my targets for the week, Jerry Jeudy. Rostered in 71% of leagues. If you're looking to grab somebody, especially with all these injuries to receivers, Jerry Jeudy could be a guy to eye. Amari Cooper, of course, is dealing with some injury issues. He could be playing. He could not be playing. We're going to see how the week goes. But Jerry Jeudy has gotten 21 targets, 12 receptions. And if Amari Cooper is hurt, see that target share go skyrocketing, especially when they're playing from those negative game scripts. I think Jerry Jeudy could be a viable play if needed. Darnell Mooney, only rostered in 43% of leagues. I liked him going into the draft. I was grabbing him late in some drafts. Unfortunately, injuries got me, and of course, after week 1, I had to make moves. I think I dropped him a couple leagues because he didn't really show much in that first week. But it looks like he is Kirk Cousins' favorite guy to go to with 18 targets, and he's playing 95% of snaps. He's got 12 receptions on the year, and he's got a couple touchdowns. So maybe Darnell Mooney could be a guy going forward, especially the healthier Kirk Cousins gets. Wan'Dale Robinson. Malik Nabers is proven to be a dominant force at the wide receiver position. look for him to start getting some double teams, and that's going to leave other guys open, especially like Wan'Dale Robinson. He plays in over 60% of snaps, and he's got 24 targets so far this year with 15 receptions. He could be a high-volume guy going forward, and he could sneak in a couple touchdowns in for you. He should have a good floor and surprise you some weeks with a good ceiling if he gets into the end zone. Look for Wan'Dale Robinson if you need help at the wide receiver position, especially with a ton of injuries going on. Well, guys, I know week 3 is in the books, and it's been a roller coaster of a season, especially with fantasy and all the injuries and all the surprises, benchings. We haven't seen any coaching moves. The Saints, of course, not doing what we thought they would do. Saints looking bad this week. It's been a roller coaster of a season. But we're here to help, and hopefully our content helps you play a little bit better and enjoy fantasy football season and dominate your league. Please subscribe, rate, review us. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. There's audio versions available if you want to listen in your car. I know that's preferably what I like to do, but I love to make these videos and put these out for you in case you guys like watching them. Follow me over on Instagram at Vegas Guyz. I post daily on there with poll questions, videos, questions. Guys I like to start, guys I'm looking to sit, guys I'm looking to target, and just entertaining videos as well. So follow me there on Instagram, give us a view, and remember, we're here every Tuesday for another episode of Touchdowns and Trash Talk. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.